How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another FPL video. And today we're going to be taking a look at our lineup for Game Week 3. We're going to see how our team's going to line up going into the last game week before the international break. I have 2 free transfers, so we're going to explore those ideas and see what we need for the upcoming game week. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Also, drop us a follow over on Twitter so you can keep up to date with any and all FPL transfer news, as well as give us a follow over on Twitch so that you can see when we go live for our FPL deadline and preview streams. We'll be doing a deadline stream tomorrow. That's going to be 1 hour before the FPL deadline, so make sure to tune in for that. It's going to be in a pinned comment down below so that you can get the information on that one. So without further ado, let's talk about our partners for the season with Fantasy Football Scout. We have partnered up with Fantasy Football Scout for this coming Fantasy Premier League season, and they're giving you an exclusive offer. Use the link down in the description to get 20% off your Fantasy Football Scout membership. It gives you access to the exclusive members area, which has new tools such as the 3-player comparison tool, as well as some old favorites such as the Rate My Team tool, the Season Ticker, and my personal favorite, the fully customizable stats tables, which you can share among other Fantasy Football Scout members, powered by Opta Stats. Use the link down in the description below to get 20% off your membership today. Sign up now. So this is how our team did in Game Week 2. We got a total of 79 points. It was very, very successful. A small green arrow of around 3K places. We initially had 110 points, so that's fantastic. We are now up to a total of 189 points, which is great. But our rank is still around 50K, which is a fantastic, fantastic start. We made no transfers, no chips used, and we did quite well. So Sanchez getting the clean sheet, which was very nice to see. Double Liverpool defense. Absolutely stellar performance from Liverpool, mainly from Alisson to keep the clean sheet, but we'll take what we can get. Tsimikas getting himself an assist, as did Trent Alexander-Arnold. Both of them played fantastically well. Tsimikas has already gone up 0.2 million as well, which is great. So we're enjoying that. Looks like Robertson's going to come back in for the Chelsea game, but Tsimikas can just go straight to the bench. He did exactly what we wanted him to do, which is be 3.5 million cheaper than Jota and get more points than Jota did. Jota scored twice, 2 and 2, and still got 1 point less than Tsimikas, which is crazy to think about. So very happy with the Liverpool defense. Shaw getting himself 2 bonus points in a game where he conceded, and the game was 1-1, so definitely happy about that. Mohamed Salah was the captain for the week for us, and turns out Salah was better than Bruno. You got an extra 2 points for yourself if you did captain him. So again, I was kind of torn between the two, but then I really thought about him, which is like, you know what, Salah at home, he's most likely going to score, and he was actually more likely to score than Bruno Fernandes. Salah did get a goal disallowed, and he was basically a toenail offside, so a bit unfortunate on that one. And then the more disappointing side was obviously Bruno getting only just the 1 point. Well, he was over 100% effective ownership, which means he would have dropped me rank had he done well. So we kind of got the best of both worlds in that sense. But the real disappointing factors were my 2 differentials basically in the team to get a bigger green arrow was Harvey Barnes and Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson got booked after playing the majority of the game, only getting just the 1 point. And then Harvey Barnes has only had 1 shot that I can remember in the first 2 games. He might be on the chopping block in the next weeks to come, but he does have Norwich next, which could be hopefully some good points there. Ings getting himself a goal, a crazy bicycle kick. I mean, that's the type of finishing we're used to seeing Danny Ings when he was at Southampton, so he seems to be doing quite well with that. 2 and 2, very fortunate to probably have those points, but Danny Ings has done quite well. But the real highlight of the week is the West Ham duo going at it again. Antonio, 2 goals and an assist. Ben Rama, goal assist. I mean, what more can you ask for? These guys have been absolutely electric in the opening 2 game weeks. They're not going anywhere. They got Crystal Palace at home. A lot of FPL managers are bringing them in. Their prices are skyrocketing like crazy, and I'm just soaking in all the value from having them from the beginning. So a lot of FPL managers like, oh, should I have Barnes? Should I have Ben Rama? I might need to get rid of Barnes for Ben Rama. It's like, I'm going to take both into Game Week 3. So we're definitely happy about that. And Antonio, as we mentioned on the captaincy video, could be a captaincy option for Game Week 3. So we'll take a look at that. But we have 2 free transfers. So let's see how the lineup is going to start off. We're going to look at defense first, and then we'll progress through the team and then look at the tinkering as we know normally do to see how we can make the team even better going into Game Week 3 and beyond the international break. So currently our team value sits at 104, or 104, I wish it was 104 million, 100.4 million with 0.5 million in the bank, which we've had since the beginning of the season. And now that it's a new game week, we've got new images up for our players. We got Trent Alexander-Arnold in his New Jersey, as well as Luke Strom. We've just, for the first time, been using Ayling's one. So their fixtures this week are, Shaw's, I think, is okay. Wolves haven't scored a goal. And Ayling is also up against a Burnley team that could be struggling at the back. So maybe some attacking returns there. Sanchez, probably not a high chance of a clean sheet if he's going up against a very fit Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's apparently playing with a slight injury at the moment as well, according to Rafa Benitez, which is crazy considering he's got 2 and 2. So maybe not a clean sheet prospect there. And then Trent Alexander-Arnold, he's going to be up against Chelsea. Romelu Lukaku could be having a field day potentially if Liverpool don't play their cards right, but Trent is good enough to get an attacking return on any given day. Which means our legendary Tsimikas has dropped to 3rd on the bench. He will probably be staying there until I make additional transfers or the wild card, which is going to probably happen around the Game Week 7 or Game Week 8 when the fixtures may take a massive swing. Veltman as well, he's injured. He's dropped in price by 0.1, but he's going to be back after the international break. He's back in training already, but won't be in time for the game this weekend versus Everton. But we don't need him until he plays, I believe it's Watford in Game Week 4, where we'll put Ayling on the bench and bring him in. So we can just expect him hopefully to be back by then, which will be okay. Gilmore and Begovic obviously not going to play. They're just going to be bench fodder. But all things considered, I think our defense is pretty solid. We set this up to have the rotation between Veltman and Ayling. We haven't had to use it because Tsimikas did exactly what he was supposed to do, which is the first 2 fixtures were great, and then he's going to get shoved to the bench where we have Ayling, and then Veltman is now going to come back in Game Week 4 when he's back available. So that's great news. Trent Alexander-Arnold, maybe for a couple of fixtures, could be not great. He does play Chelsea and Leeds in his next 2. And he will probably be playing in the international. I think he got picked for the England squad as well. So we'll have to potentially monitor that as well. But I don't expect a clean sheet from Trent. If it's a 0-0 between Liverpool and Chelsea, that'd be ideal for not only fantasy, but also for the likes of Man United or Man City or all the other teams that want those 2 clubs to drop points. So we'll have to be seeing potentially how that game goes. That's going to be the tactics talk for this week as well. We're going to be doing that probably. I wouldn't say it's going to be on, it might be on Sunday, but it might be on a later date because we have obviously the international break to look over this sort of stuff. But Luke Shaw is the one I'm mainly keeping my eye on because Man United should have Varane now in the team, and Luke Shaw should be getting some clean sheet points soon, hopefully against Wolves and Newcastle. And the attacking returns are only going to get better because a certain Portuguese player, which we'll talk about in the transfer section, could be allowed to come up front and just kind of head a few of them in because he might be a bit good at jumping in the air. Yeah, we'll talk about that in the transfer section. But all things considered, defense is looking fine. Going to keep Veltman. He dropped in price, but that's okay. We'll use him in Game Week 4, and then he'll go back up to 4.5, hopefully. But yeah, it's the midfield which we need to talk about because that could see some drastic changes and maybe a certain Egyptian star that might be making his way out of my FPL team for a couple of game weeks. Same midfield, new jerseys though. We got Ben Rama in his new picture, as well as RV Barnes, Salah, and Fernandez, all with their new jerseys on. It makes it look a lot better when all the new jerseys and new pictures are on them, so you don't have these awkward photos where you have like players, at a different angles and that sort of stuff. It makes it look a little bit better, a little bit more professional, and now I have them all together. But as it stands now, we have Bruno Fernandes with the captain's armband. He's got Wolves away, so in our current iteration of our team, me personally, I think I'd be most comfortable with captaining Fernandes. Now, with the likes of West Ham playing Crystal Palace, I think Ben Rama is definitely an option, as well as Mikel Antonio. We'll talk about him in a bit. But I think out of the premiums, I think Fernandes is the one to kind of go for. If De Bruyne was fit, but according to Pep Guardiola, he's not, he would definitely be an option because of the fact that he's playing a very weak Arsenal team who've lost the opening 2 fixtures quite convincingly to Brentford and Chelsea. But I think Fernandes arguably has the best fixture out of the kind of like 12 million kind of players. Now, with that being said, Harry Kane and Son, who are playing Watford this week, could be on the cards. And we had earmarked this Game 3 to save one of our transfers, and use that other transfer to bring in Son. And the way we would fund that would be getting rid of Salah for a couple of weeks. What we would do is we would take Salah out, bring in Son, then we would save the additional transfer. So if there's any, kind of hiccups or anything happen over the international break, we could address that. Then we would use just the one transfer if we had to, going into the end or the start of game week 4 rather. And that'd probably be like Calvert-Lewin for the likes of Ings. And then we would bring Salah back in game week 5. And we can show more of that in the tinkering section and how that's going to work. But I think with Salah, Chelsea at home, Leicester away, I think Son's Watford at home, Crystal Palace away, looks a lot better, especially now that he's going to be having Harry Kane feed him in behind for those chances on goal. Bruno Fernandes, like I said, will be the captain for the time being. But if Son comes in, he's 100% going to be my captaincy of choice. Ben Rama, he's going nowhere. Crystal Palace at home, can't ask for a better fixture personally for him. And then Harvey Barnes, he's the other one that potentially is on the chopping block. He does have very good fixtures barring Man City up until and including game week 7. I think he has like Norwich, Crystal Palace, and like one other team that's going to be quite, or should be quite easy. It's just what type of Leicester team will we see versus Norwich? Will Iheanacho come in and they play a 3-5-2? There's kind of rumors the way fans are talking about it on the forums and stuff, that Pereira is actually going to come in on the right-hand side in replace of Iosi Perez, who picked up a red card in Game Week 2 and will be suspended for at least 1, but most likely 3 game weeks because it was a straight red. So Harvey Barnes hopefully can get some points for us. He has gone down in price as well, but we're not too concerned about that. We like this fixture. This was one of the fixtures we earmarked at the beginning of the season, so we're definitely going to keep him there as well. So we'll talk about the transfers, but if Salah were to leave, Son would come in and take the armband with Bruno getting the vice captaincy. But now with that being said, let's take a quick talk about our front line and the 3 forwards that we've had in since the beginning. And our forwards have a fantastic set of fixtures from what we can see here. Just, you like to see that H, the home game. It's fantastic. And they're all against teams that are probably going to be in the bottom half of the table, almost certainly come the end of the season, maybe in the bottom 4th of the table. Wilson has Southampton at home, who've sold a couple of their players, one notably Mr. Danny Ings, who's playing Brentford at home for Aston Villa now, and Antonio, the guy who just keeps breaking the stat meter and just putting the ball in the back of the net, has Crystal Palace at home as well. Now, I'd be inclined to potentially captain Antonio, but if I do bring in Son, he'll be my only player in the Spurs game, and I think I will want a little bit more than just Son in that game because Son's ownership is quite high. That's not necessarily going to make or break my decision. I just think that fixture, Spurs versus Watford, is the best fixture for points on paper, in my opinion, because Watford was so bad away from home. Aston Villa weren't even that great, and they beat Watford comfortably 2-0, and Watford was away from home. And notably in the Championship, Watford was fantastic at home, but not so great away from home, offensively and defensively. So we'll kind of have to see how that one pans out, but Son would definitely come in for the captaincy, which would mean Bruno be the vice captain. But Ings, Brentford at home, I mean, you can't ask for a better fixture before he leaves the team. He's almost certainly going to be the one transferred out in game week 4 as one of our transfers, which will hopefully bank the other one. Antonio, again, Crystal Palace, he's probably going to bully that defense. He's just been absolutely fantastic, gone up in price, I think, 3 times already. And then Wilson could be the one that makes way over Ings. I might even keep Ings versus Chelsea. If Wilson doesn't perform or one of them were to get injured. I'm not opposed to getting rid of either or. Antonio could be in one of the red list countries as well, so maybe he might make way. I'm not too sure. I might have to just make do elsewhere somehow, and maybe there's some restructuring of the team that might need to be done. But I'm expecting a lot of points from these guys. They have all home fixtures, and they're playing against very, very weak opposition, so I expect them to do quite well in game week 3 with some good scores across our front line. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at the tinkering options we have for our FPL team and the transfers we're going to be looking to make in game week 3. So this is the transfer screen we have up here. We've gotten some significant value in some of our players. We've lost 0.1 on Veltman and lost 0.1 on Barnes, but we've gained 0.1s on Fernandez and Salah. But if they go up again, we gain sell value of 0.1. Same with Ings. Antonio's gone up by 0.3, which is crazy. Same with Benrahma. So we're looking good on the value front. But I just wanted to show you basically what my transfer plans were initially before the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo decided to say, hold my beers, the man's coming back to his home. So, yeah, things really got shook up there. So, what we were originally going to do is we were going to take out Salah, and we were going to bring in Son in Game Week 3 for 10.1 million, which leaves us 2.9 million, which is effectively 2.8 million because Salah's currently 12.6. Then we were going to take out Ings, who has a bad fixture in Game Week 4, or Wilson or Antonio, whichever one misses out, basically. Antonio hopefully doesn't have to quarantine because he does play for Jamaica, and they are going to potentially red list countries, which would mean he would need to quarantine, which means we would need someone extra off the bench. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But let's say we're taking out Ings, we'll bring in Calvert-Lewin. Then we effectively have 2.6 million, assuming that Calvert-Lewin hasn't gone up and that Salah's price is still 12.6. And Son went up to 10.1, which is kind of unfortunate because I was hoping to bring him in after the press conferences today. He went up last night, which is unfortunate, or the night before last, whenever it was, and it's a bit annoying, but we'll take it as we go. And then we'll save 2 transfers again. So now we've only used 2 transfers, and we saved in Game Week 3 an extra one. We saved in Game Week 4 an extra one. And then in Game Week 5, what we're going to do is take Son out, bring Salah back in, and then potentially bring in a Wolves player. So either Jimenez up front for Wilson, who has he has Leeds, Watford, and Wolves, whereas the likes of Raul Jimenez at Wolves has much better fixtures. They have Brentford, Southampton, and Newcastle. And then again, they play each other in Game Week 7, but it's at home. And then we could potentially wildcard Jimenez out after we've seen enough of him, basically, because his fixtures go from green to white and then red after that. But it all depends. We'll have to kind of play it by ear. Barnes could also come out in Game Week 5 as well for Traore, and he would free up a little bit of money as well. So Adama Traore, if he starts finishing, could be fantastic at 6 million, which will leave us 1.2 million left in the bank. We would then bank a transfer in Game Week 6. In Game Week 7, when Chelsea's fixtures turn, we could bring in the big Belgian up front in Romelu Lukaku. He's going to be scoring a boatload of goals, I think, for Chelsea. Then we need 2.1 million, and that's going to be Fernandez is going to be the one downgraded, and then we can basically bring in who we want. We can bring in any Chelsea midfielder, and that's probably going to be like the likes of Mason Mount or somebody like that. Could be for Game Week 7, and we could captain Lukaku in this fixture as well. That all sounds nice, but Cristiano Ronaldo is going to be an FPL by Game Week 4, and he could be scoring a hat-trick versus Newcastle. Now, that changes everything. So, we're definitely going to want to keep 2 free transfers going into Game Week 4 in the event that we know he's going to be starting for United in Game Week 4 versus Newcastle. Spoiler alert, last time Cristiano Ronaldo played against Newcastle in the Premier League, they won 6-0 and he scored a hat-trick. So, yeah. I mean, he was a different player back then, but I think he's going to score a boatload of goals, so it's going to be interesting. So, if we still do the Salah to Son move, which is still perfectly fine, Son comes in at 10.1 million. We still want to get Salah in at Game Week 5 to Game Week 7. We still want to do that because these fixtures are Game Week 5 to Game Week 5 and 6 really. Man City at home is not great, but we can manage that somehow. And we'll do this on the fly because we don't know what Ronaldo's price is, so it could be something astronomical. I'm going to assume that it's 13 million, right? So if we want to bring Ronaldo in Game Week 4, the only person that can legitimately make way is Son again, or Trent Alexander-Arnold. But I think Son we're only going to keep for one extra fixture. We'll keep him for the one game. Even if Spurs don't impress, then maybe it's an easier way to cut him. But I think Son is the only one that we can get rid of. I think Trent will want for these 3 games anyway, especially these 2. Whereas Son we definitely don't want for the game after Game Week 4. So if we do want Ronaldo, we get rid of Son, we get rid of Ings, who has Chelsea, and then we bring in Ronaldo. Now I'm going to assume that Ronaldo is 13 million. I'm just going to assume that he's 13 million. That may be overpricing it. He may come at 12.5. He's definitely going to be a forward. So we have 8 million in the bank effectively here. So how can we do this? Well, we need to keep around 0.7-ish million to give ourselves a little bit of buffer if we want to do Fernandes to Salah in game week 5. Now, Manchester United's fixtures are West Ham at home and West Ham away, and Aston Villa at home. Do I necessarily want United triple up in those two games? Probably not. I probably want Salah in those fixtures. So, in the likes of game week 4 again, we'll make that second transfer, and that could be any midfielder we want. Now, it could be Traore, it could be Sarr, it could be a bunch of different players because we have plenty of money to play around with. I believe Chelsea, if I'm not mistaken, have a decent fixture in game week 4. Yeah, they have Aston Villa at home, so maybe I just bring in Mount and just keep him through the bit of tougher fixtures. And leave him in there as well, because we'll still have 1.2 million as a buffer. That's plenty enough for price rises, price falls, and that sort of stuff. Then in game week 5, we get rid of Fernandes. We bring in Salah back in for 12.6 million or thereabouts. We'll say we have 0.5 million left in the bank. That's game week 5. Game week 6, we can, say, okay, well, Barnes has Burnley at home. If we're finally fed up by Barnes, we can maybe get rid of him for the likes of Traore, or maybe Wilson's not doing it in game week 6. Or like he didn't do anything versus Leeds, or maybe he did well, so we keep him, or maybe we get rid of Antonio against Leeds, but he does have Brentford, so it's kind of tricky to get rid of him. So maybe it's the Barnes that's going to be the one that gets cut. And then in game week 7, we just do the straight swap. We go Ronaldo, because Ronaldo's going to be more than Lukaku, or the same price at least, down to him, and then we can do a hit if we wanted to spice things up in a 1 week kind of punt before we wildcard our team going into game week 8, assuming that we need it that way. But yeah, that's how we would kind of work around it. This is assuming Ronaldo's 13 million. If he's 14, 15, 16, whatever crazy price they might set him as, he could be a midfielder for all we know. But I'm just going on the assumption that he is a forward, because it just makes the most sense, considering he's played the latter parts of his career as a striker, as a number 9. That's how I would go about it. And then in game week 8, we'd look to get rid of the likes of our Liverpool players, get rid of our Man United players, bring in Chelsea players, potentially bring in some City players as well, and then go from there. And then hopefully by that time, De Bruyne's fit and City are looking quite good. We could bring them in for a few weeks, and then when Man United's fixtures return back to normal, from like game week 12 or so onwards, they have Chelsea away, which is difficult. But this just could be Ronaldo with the armband on for literally 13 game weeks straight. Just don't even need to make a captaincy video. If you don't have Ronaldo, get him in the team, put the armband on, go. Because another thing to note is that Fernandes currently, we'll just reset the team back. Fernandes currently is 12 million. Now, how many goals did he score last season? Well, let's take a look historically. He scored 18 goals with 14 assists. Now, I believe half of those were penalties. Now, is Fernandes going to be a 12 million midfielder if he does not have penalties now that Ronaldo's there? No, he's not. He's not going to have that same kind of output. At least I don't think he will. He might have better assist numbers, but not necessarily better goal scoring numbers, because it's going to be Ronaldo to tap it in the back of the net. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. Bruno's definitely a way better penalty taker statistically than Ronaldo actually is, because Bruno's just insane at penalties. Bruno's free kick record is also much more accurate than Ronaldo's, because Ronaldo is a very rare form of free kick taking, which is when he hits it right, it's literally unstoppable, but it's nowhere near as accurate. So it's going to be very interesting to see how those two manage set pieces in that way. Also, another thing, Luke Shaw's value is going to go skyrocketing, because he's just going to be like, well, forget it. Ronaldo's in the box. I'm just going to cross it in anyway. He'll go up and get it. You can have it 6 meters in the air. He's just going to jump and head it in the back of the net. And that's the same thing with Chelsea. Balls on the ground, balls in the air. It doesn't matter. Lukaku's going to go and head it too. So these are things you kind of have to think about. And United's set piece defensively is going to be much better because Ronaldo can jump up and get them. Because he's not going to be the one on the halfway line probably. That's going to be the one on the break. We're going to leave somebody with a bit of guile or something to spin in behind. And offensively, I mean, you're going to have Ronaldo, Harry Maguire, Varane, with the service of Bruno and Shaw crossing it into the box. That's going to be insane in its own right. And then also Harry Kane's over at Spurs too. We can't forget about him. I used him as a placeholder, but he could easily come in this game week for some managers as well. So a lot of stuff to think about, but let me know what you think down in the comments below. Does my plan look good? Am I going to bring in Ronaldo? He just seems too good to not bring in, and I think the plan looks great. It means I don't even have to take a hit the way I'm able to do it, so it looks quite sound to me. So let me know what you think down in the comments below, and yeah, that's going to do it for the tinkering options for this week. And that's going to do it for our lineup preview for Game Week 3. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Drop us a follow over on Twitter so you can keep up to date with any known FPL transfer news. I went absolutely ballistic on my phone retweeting stuff with the Ronaldo news and everything else that's been going on, as well as give us a follow over on Twitch so you can see when we go live for our preview and deadline streams. As I always say, there's a pin comment down below to let you know the details on the next stream. And lastly, use the link down in the description below for Fantasy Football Scout to still get 20% off your Fantasy Football Scout membership. It's going to help elevate your FPL game. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, take care.